Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the sound test room. Today we are taking a first look on the channel at the Behringer DeepMind 12. So I used to have a DeepMind ages and ages ago, and didn't really get on with it. In fact, I didn't even. It featured a lot on one of mine and Colin's albums, but that was about it. But I think what it was is it was a second-hand one. It wasn't a new one, and I think that the person who'd originally had it kind of messed a lot with it. And then at that time I wasn't into programming synths at all, so things were a little bit confused. And I was just playing with presets, and I was like, oh, you know what I mean? And I think they'd all been messed with. And anyway, it went. So I got another one because I now do like playing with presets. So what we're going to do tonight is not necessarily a super deep dive tutorial. I am going to do tutorials on this and basically go through everything that you can do, but it is super deep. So it would be best if the tutorials were like a patch from scratch sort of thing and that type of thing. What I will do tonight is give you a general overview of the architecture of the synth, and play some patches and stuff. So here's another patch. Hi, well. It's epic. So it comes in two versions. Well, it comes in three versions. It comes in a desktop version of this with no keyboard. Then it comes in a 6-voice version, which is the DeepMind 6 and DeepMind 12. The only difference is the amount of voices available. This has 12 voices per oscillator. So it's two oscillators. You have oscillator 1 and oscillator 2. Oscillator 1 has a sawtooth wave and a square wave. Oscillator 2 is basically a square wave. And you think, my God, only 3 oscillators? And you go, yes, only 3 oscillators and a noise generator. And you think, my God, that's not a lot. But the thing will do pretty much anything you want it to do. If you can imagine it, you can probably get the DeepMind to do it. Sound-wise, I mean. Now, there is an awful lot of menus and stuff to go in. That's why it's called DeepMind, because it's deep. But it's not, I don't think it's overly complicated. I think there are some things that are complex on it, but I don't think it's difficult to program or understand if you have a general grasp of programming synths. So here's one that I programmed earlier, or started to program. It's not really finished yet, but yeah, it's not. You see, this is the and this was the thing. You see, people were going, "Well, it's a copy of a Juno because it's laid out like a Juno," but it's not. It's not. It will do what a Juno does, but it will do a lot more as well. What's nice is if you don't wanted to program a patch in your life, this is one I did earlier. Thanks, Stephen. Brilliant. Thank you very much. If you never wanted to program a patch in your life, it comes loaded already with over 1,000 patches. Hi Grant, it comes in, you have banks A to H, and each bank has 128 patches. So, yeah, you can pretty much get it to sound anything you like. So that was one of mine. This is another patch. I've got it going through the iPad, but just so I can boost the volume with my RS compressor. I mean, it's stunning. Let's hit the microphone down. Hi, Jamie. Okay, let's have another patch. So let's go down a bank. I don't know what this. So let's do a reset just for starters, so I can kind of take you through the synth. Like I said, tonight's not going to be a programming tutorial, but I am going to be doing programming tutorials for this. You have this very, very, very useful screen in the middle, which basically tells you everything. So to reset a program, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a patch that maybe I wouldn't want to keep, sort of thing. So I don't know what this is. Right, I'm really not bothered about keeping that as a patch. So here's the thing. To reset a patch to its initial default program, you hit program and compare, and now that's a default patch. However, with like most digital synthesizers, it's not reflected on what's going on with the controls. So if you want to hear what the controls are doing, you hit program and write, and that's what these are set to. So program and compare is an initial patch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset the controls to reflect, more or less reflect that patch. Okay, so let's just see, I set that about halfway, set the VCA level about halfway. All this stuff can go down, frequency open, unison detune down, data entry doesn't matter, noise level down, and let's see, we can leave the LFO rates where they are for now. And so there we have a basic sound. So oscillator 1, sawtooth wave. I'm going to turn this up as well so you can hear it a little bit better. So sawtooth, square wave, and then oscillator 2 is an octave below the initial square wave, and then we have a pitch control for oscillator 2. Now whichever control you touch, see at the moment that's on pitch. So let's bring in oscillator 1 as well on square. You can tune it up with this, but whatever control you've touched, you can then find control with either the denter, with this control. And at the bottom it says oscillator 2 pitch 0.0 cents, so we know they're exactly in tune. And then you can tune them as you wish. You could do a fifth by maybe taking oscillator 2 up to 7 plus 7 semitones or minus. Now we've got a fifth. But what you've got on oscillator 2 is you've got this very cool tone mod control. Which kind of adds different harmonics to the sound. You also have pitch mod. And the pitch mod, by default, if we go into the edit menu for the oscillators by pressing this button here. Now, I know you probably can't see this, right? But the second thing down here, the first one is the range. So changing the range. This is for, sorry, that's for oscillator 1. We press edit again to get into oscillator 2's parameters. And the first one is the range. The second one is the pulse mod source, and that is LFO1. So the pitch mod source is LFO1, and it's running very slowly. The next one down, right, so these are for both oscillators, by the way, and at the moment they're both linked in. So the next one down is aftertouch for modulation. So if I turn the pitch mod down, and I press on the keyboard, you know, so it engages the aftertouch, and I turn up the aftertouch pitch mod. Now I've assigned pitch modulation to the aftertouch. Okay, so we'll turn that down. Or vice versa to the modulation wheel. So if I push the mod wheel all the way up, like that, and then I can set the depth here. Alter the tone. So, there you go. That's how you can set your modulations generally, okay, sort of thing. So that's, like I said, oscillator 2. Over here, this side is your envelope, so we can do a bit of shaping of the sound. The first one is the VCA, the voltage controlled amplifier, which is your basic stuff. So I'm going to set kind of this sound, this has, if we go into this menu here, it has your, where's your modulation slots are. It has 8 modulation slots. You can scroll through the destinations here: pitch bend, mod wheel, foot controller, breath controller, pressure, expression, LFO1, 2, envelope 1, envelope 2, envelope 3, note number, note velocity, note off velocity, yeah, because you can modulate when you take your finger off. You can get it to do stuff. Control sequencer, which is very cool. LFO unison, LFO2 unison, LFO1 fade. So all these different modulation slots, and there's over 130 destinations. So yeah. So if we choose, for instance, if we choose, say, LFO2, if I can find it, wait, mod wheel, LFO1, LFO2. I'm going to choose LFO2, and I'm going to just scroll over here to the destination. Now you can look for the destinations in here, or there is a shortcut to do this. You hold down the mod button and you move the slider that you want to be the destination. So for instance, the tone mod, this one, And now LFO2 is assigned to the tone mod. Now we can assign LFO2 to something else within our 8 slots, but you know. All we need to do now is give it an amount in the middle here. I'm going to turn the sustain up a little bit for this. And then LFO2, which is also running extremely slowly. I'm going to turn the rate up. And you'll see it's set on triangle, so maybe we want a little bit smoother than that. So another trick to change the shape of the LFO is to hold edit and move the rate knob, and then you can change the shape. Or you can also go into the LFO2 menu here, and you can change the shape like that. You see it changing with this. Now we're scrolling through LFO's menu. Take it down an octave, I think. And now we can introduce quite a nice sound, but it's a little bit brighter. We still have our, we can still play. But what is a nice thing to do with filters is if we close the filter all the way down and we go to our voltage controlled filter envelope, and we can use, oops, we give it a sum. Now we need to, right, I'm going to just do this again for you guys because we need to give it something to do with the envelope here. So we need to give it an amount. Let's go back to my page. Nice and it's dark now. And we could bring up a little bit of resonance. Okay, nice. So we're just using the, like I said at the moment, oscillator 2. We've got a bit of modulation going on. And like I said, I don't want to go too deep into how to program it, because I'd rather do independent tutorials on how to program different bits and pieces and stuff like that. Okay, so let's bring in our saw wave now. And because our mod wheel is locked to oscillator 1 and 2 by default, our vibrato will work with that as well. Change it to 2-pole. We also have we've lost some bass because of the so I can use this boost. And now it's nice and meaty. to slow the modulation down for LFO2. Now at the moment, we're just using one oscillator and one voice. If we wanted to make this like super juicy, like moving the Unison detune at the moment won't do anything. If you notice here, I'm just pressing one key and it's just using one oscillator. I think if we go into our poly mode, I have to remember the different things where things are. We go into poly mode here. This is where we can choose the polyphony and do all sorts of other cool stuff for the oscillators. So at the moment it's on poly, and it's basically 12 note poly. If I play 12 notes, it will fill all the oscillators up. But we're on poly, so if I move over now we're on Unison 2, which means that I'm down to 6 note polyphony, and each time I play a note it will play 2 oscillators. But you see how much chunkier it is if I take that down just to poly. And now we can use the Unison detune to detune those 2. And it's super meaty. Then we have Unison 3, which is using 3 oscillators per voice. Then Unison 4. Then Unison 12, which uses all of them. But you can only play one note, of course, because basically you've stacked up. We'll go back to poly. Then you have, don't need to worry about Unison detune. We're in poly mode now, and we're only using one. But you can't like leave it like that. What it also has is a very cool oscillator drift, which you know the olden days when your analog synth wouldn't really stay in tune. Well, we can do that with this. But yeah, I mean, you know, your synth's broken, man. But it's nice if it's subtle. Now, I'm not going to do the ARP is self-explanatory. You switch the arpeggiator on. And of course, this is the pitch. You're hearing the pitch modulate. You're hearing the tone mod much better now that's been modulated by LFO2 that we set up earlier. We can hold. You have to hold it for a while and then. Right, so that's, you have chord. I'm going to do chord and polychord in a different video, but you switch chord on, you play a chord and it will play that chord. The sequencer is not a note sequencer, okay? We can sequence notes, but the sequencer is like a note step sequencer, a bit like you got in Synth Master 2 and oh gosh, other synths as well have it as well, where you play one note and it cycles through. I don't want to cover that in this one because it will get too confusing as well. I just want to keep it basic. But you get to that by hitting edit, and it's independent of the arpeggiator. You don't need to have the arpeggiator running. And then there's the arpeggiator menu, okay? And then hit it again, and this is the control sequencer. So it's a note control. At the moment it's off, okay? But we can turn it on, and then we can go down here where it says sequence and press yes. And you might be able to see it's tracking along. But it's not doing anything because you need to give it something to do. So for instance, you can choose the step, and you can have up to 32 steps. Okay. At the moment, it's running over 16 steps. The length is 16. So you choose a step, for instance. So let's choose, say, step number 9. I'm just going to quickly do this. You enter the value here, like this, for that step. But then you have to go into the modulation matrix and give this control sequencer something to do. So very quickly you go into mod matrix here. Well, let me get out. Sorry, let me get out of the edit mode for there. Go into the mod matrix. We can choose another slot number 2. And then I'm going to find control sequencer in the source. Here, was that it? Yeah, control sequencer. And I'm going to choose the destination as the frequency, the filter frequency. So I'm just going to do the shortcut and hold this and choose that. So now all I need to do is give it an amount. So I'm going to go back to my... Hear that? If we go and have a look at our sequencer now. So adding some more different, let's choose some different steps here. If we just use our data entry here, and maybe we can go minus there. And like I said, you can assign this to lots of different things. Go bit plus there, and minus bit the. You get the drift. Yeah, how this works. Very cool. I love stuff like this because there's a track called Stuntman by Edgar Froese. Start again at the beginning. Go back to there. Let's add the first one that has this kind of. Let's turn on. Now, of course, see how that works? It's very cool. Now, cool beans. I think that's great, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna leave it on that. I'm gonna take the control sequencer off, although it does sound really cool. But I'm gonna switch it off. Let me go into edit for that, and now I'm gonna turn it off. Awesome. All right, so there's all sorts of cool stuff we can get into in the future when we do proper programming tutorials. But it's all quite straightforward. You know, you want to edit anything a little bit deeper, you just go into the edit menu for that particular section, like we saw with this, or the oscillators. We can go in and edit the VCA. The VCA is pretty straightforward. The level here, we have envelope depth, with the depth that the amp is going to be affecting the filters and stuff like that. Then we have this other cool thing which is called pan spread. This is really nice. This is in the VCA parameters, so if you're listening through headphones now, you can spread out the notes in different, so each different note will be in a different pan position. Okay. Very nice. Then, like I said before, you have, if you're, when we take out some, we increase maybe the resonance, we lose some bass, but we have a bass boost on the high pass. So if we take the high pass filter up and we've lost, but we want a little bit of boost back in. That's really nice for putting it back in. And then you have your envelopes. You have your basic ADSR for your amp, ADSR for your filter. You have a freely assignable modulation ADSR, although you can assign the VCA and the VCF to anything you like. You don't have to have it doing the normal stuff. And then just out of shot, which you can't see, you have a button that says curve, which allows you to shape the different. So if you go back to program, you see we've got our amp envelope here, like this, our thing with our ataxic decay and our sustain and release, of course. So you also have, if you switch into curve mode now, you have different curves, so logarithmic and exponential stuff like. But a super cool thing on the this is so cool, on the, you can do some really cool shapes. So I'm just going to set these curves back to normal, and actually here we go. So super cool stuff you can do there. And before we finish, I'm going to obviously show you some of the effects. There's, I know, about 30 odd effects. You can have up to 4 effects chained in any way you like, basically. Go into the effects menu here. You'll see that the first thing, you can either have it as a send effect or an insert effect. We'll leave it as a send. Or if you wanted to change it to you could bypass the effector here, the comparison sort of thing, or you can have it as an insert, leave it as a send. And at the moment, it's just running in series sort of thing straight through. Hi, Josh. Hi, Ed. Hi, I think I've said hello to everyone else. Anyway, or you can choose all different manner of configurations like this kind of thing, including your feedback loops, like this one here and that one there, which means you can set up shimmers and stuff like that. But just for the moment, we'll leave it on this. Move down again, and then at the moment, now there is an app for this. Doesn't work on iOS 15 because Behringer haven't bothered updating it. They should, but they haven't. So the first one is this TC deep verb. Now the effects on this will just make the sound, basically. If you're happy with an effect, you can hit effects again and you can go into the actual deep editing for the effect. You can also modulate any of these parameters within any effect with your modulation routing. So you can increase that. You could assign like the depth to the mod wheel and stuff like that, things we're going to get into. So you have preset, which is so it's different, some different presets on this one. And then decay, tone, pre-delay, and then the mix. And press effects again, it will take us back to our thing. So that's your TC verb. Yeah, it's fine. Then there's ambient verb. I'm not going to go through all the things inside the effects, each effect, because some of them are a huge look. It tells you what you're working on down at the bottom, but you know. So this is ambiverb. Then we have a room reverb, a vintage reverb, so we say, for instance, we wanted that one to be maybe a bit bigger. Decay, longer, and then the low mult, high density. Look, there's all sorts of stuff. That's your vintage verb. Yeah, it's fine. Hall, chamber reverb, plate. Plate's really cool. They're all really, really very good. Rich plate. Great. I'm going to leave it on rich plate. And gated reverb. Oh, reverse reverb. Chorus verb. And delay verb. And then we get into flange verb. And now we're on to something else. So I'm going to go back to that rich plate. Slot 1. I'm going to go to slot 2, and then we can skip over and here's some of the right. So Midas EQ, tend to this, and it's an EQ. You can go like this low shelf. Let's go with high mid gain. Okay. Go back into our effects. I'm gonna just take the mix of that plate down. Gonna go back into here. So let's go and see now. Let's see, Midas EQ, enhancer, Fairchild comp. If you want some compression, this is a really, really nice one. All these effects are like from either the Behringer Midas desks or the TC Electronic or Clark Technic, so they're all really high-end effects, you know. So moving along, multi-band distortion. We could go in and we could increase the distortion type, sorry, which is saturate for this one, and then low band level. What's this first one? That's gain. Awesome stuff. So that's a multi-band distortion. Yep. We've got a rack amp, Edison EX1, auto panning, noise gate, delay, and that's that delay. But we've got other delays. We've got a yep. It'll remind you that you've altered it. 3-tap delay, 4-tap delay. This is nice. T-ray delay. I'm gonna go in, have a mess. Sustain is like a feedback. It's like a bucket brigade delay. Ooh, wobble. And then what other effects we got here? Yes. Oh, a decimating delay. Mod delay. We can. Nice. Yep. And chorusing now. Dimension chorus is like a flanger. Phaser, mood filter. Oh, mood filter is cool. Oh, pitch shifting, vintage pitch. Rotary. There you go. Anyway, guys, when you're happy with your sound, I'm going to save this anyway. Basically, you can hit write, and it'll ask you if you want to overwrite the current program. You can move around certain places here. Category is none there because it was basically a default program. But I'm going to put that in the base category. Yeah, why not? To be replaced by this in the same place, H11, because I didn't want to keep that bass sound that was originally. But if I wanted to hear it, there's a way to do it. I've messed around with it before. I think it didn't know. But anyway, it doesn't matter. There's the. So I am going to, just change this to, do you know what? I'm going to leave it on I'm going to leave it on default program because it's called default program because I haven't got time to go through all the notes and change it now, but there it is. So if I go to now another patch, And go back to the one we've just made, which is there. There it is. I can go in and rename it just by pressing right and then going down, and I'll rename it tomorrow or something. So there you go. There's a kind of a general overview, I guess, of the DeepMind 12. We could chain that into an ARP. We could, I guess, if I'm not sure if our information is still there that I put in for the sequencer. Yeah, it is. If we go back now and just turn it on, I don't know what this will do. Awesome stuff. Now it will have remembered the fact that it's an arpeggio. So that the swing. Oh, hang on a minute. Guys, thank you very much for joining me this evening, which we took a first look at DeepMind 12, which is marvelous and lovely and can do all sorts of very cool stuff. But it's going to be more fun when we actually go, oh, let's just do this, let's build this and go through everything with a bit more care and precision than just kind of jumping backwards and forwards between the different things. Because that's where you have the most fun, is when you kind of build stuff up. So listen, I am going to play out a couple of these patches for you. For the next 5 minutes, and I will see you all hopefully tomorrow. If not tomorrow, the next day. Thank you very much, guys. Bless you all. If you haven't already struck a like, please strike it now, or consider becoming a patron or making a super chat. It's up to you. Or nothing. Just enjoy the rest of the music. See you later.